Hello and welcome everybody to the CODESYS webinar about CODESYS HMI SL, the human-machine interface with a single license. My name is Michael Schwarz and I'm a product manager for visualization at CODESYS. With the webinar we have more or less three sections. First of all is an introduction via PowerPoint into the HMI SL solution. Then we have a little live demo which is kind of getting started, and finally we will have a summary with all what I've presented during the next 30 to 45 minutes here. Let's start with the PowerPoint. So the CODESYS HMI SL is a solution to realize complex HMI applications on distributed controllers or devices. So the picture shows you on the left side the CODESYS HMI, on the right hand side the CODESYS control, and on the CODESYS control there's the logic of the application, and on the left hand side the HMI is the visual display on the variables which are calculated by the CODESYS controller. Both applications are programmed with the CODESYS Development System, which you can download for free in CODESYS Store, including the visualization editor, which is used to create a visualization, and with all kind of IEC 61131 languages to program the CODESYS control. If you have downloaded the application to the HMI device or to the controller, both devices are linked with a symbolic link, for example, and so HMI can control or trigger the runtime system to start specific actions or to do a calculation, to get in stop or start, whatever. And the output to the HMI is then the variable value, which is then displayed on the CODESYS HMI, which is a distributed HMI, so it's not directly connected to the controller, but it's somewhere else in the machine to display the values of the controller. What are the areas of use? So it's of course for the development of a graphical user interface. The development itself can be separated into two independent projects or bundled locally together in a combined HMI application project. For the application, all visualization elements of the CODESYS development system can be used. Also for redevelopment of version 2 visualizations, and the application logic is not required on the HMI device because the development is done on the version 2 or version 3 runtime, and this controller is then linked to the HMI via a symbolic configuration. The display of the visualization, the HMI itself, it's running on an industrial PC, which is running with Microsoft Windows, so that's the request. And with this integral display of data from one or more version 2 or version 3 controllers on one HMI device, you can realize then a kind of dashboard where you collect all the data of the PLCs in the machine to be displayed on a single location. So that's extended engineering for an intelligent linking of different sources. And with this intelligent linking of different sources, we provide an online diagnostics of the connection status between HMI and the PLC, which can be accessed by the program as well. So right during the application is running, you can check the link status between the HMI and the PLC to react when the link itself is broken. To extend the CODESYS HMI SL, you can use the CODESYS WebVisu as an option. So with this CODESYS WebVisu, everything what is seen on the HMI itself can be displayed on mobile devices as well. So as long as you have a HTML5 based Internet Explorer or browser on this device, you can directly see on this device what's shown on the HMI SL. So to enter the demonstration here, so the engineering of the HMI SL is normally done in a two-step approach. In the first step, I will show you how to write a short program, a short application for the PLC side, so that there's a PLC running and the data which are calculated on this PLC are then used to be displayed on the HMI SL. On the second step, I program visualization application, which is then downloaded to an HMI device, and with this HMI device I can show you then the visual display of the variables that are calculated on the PLC. So in summary, we have here the example where we program two independent applications. One application would be for the PLC expert, which is doing all the logic on the CODESYS PLC version 2 or version 3. And on the other hand, we have the example for an expert in HMI programming, so that this expert can use the CODESYS Development System just to program the HMI SL and then both download their application to the device. The machine as a system is complete and you can display what is calculated in the machine. Of course, that's what I said before. You can do this also in one project in the CODESYS Development System where you have in the device tree part for the HMI and the part for the PLC. So what's going on internally here? So the trigger and data with the HMI SL. There's a reading and writing of variables and recipes on the HMI device based on application data. We have a display of alarms and trends on the HMI device with alarm management and data management. So it's free selectable on the controller or HMI. So that's what the picture below shows you. You have on the left-hand side the variables and recipes which are coming from the application, or the values are written to the application. There's the calculation done and then the PLC provides the results back to the HMI SL. You have also variables and recipes for alarm management and data recording, and what the arrows will show in this case is that the alarm management and the data recording can be either on the application side or it can be done on the HMI side. So the HMI visualization is a fully integrated component of the CODESYS Development System. So you have in the CODESYS Development System the HMI editor and the visualization library. So that's the complete IDE for graphical applications. So it's an easy start for specialized HMI developers and for PLC engineers. So that's because of the structure of the HMI projects which we offer here, so that you have a view which is specialized for the HMI development, and you can switch to the standard CODESYS view when you are more familiar with that one and you want to program beside of the HMI also the logic of the PLC, so we can do it with this standard CODESYS perspective. You can use all the visualization functions and elements that are standard in CODESYS. You can add more self-developed elements into the visualization library. So that's configurable visualization editor, which comes with a broad range of functions. First step, and you can extend this functionality by individual libraries. Well, that's what I already said, the new HMI perspective of object representation in the project tree. So there's an automated division into specialized visualization object, for example, the data sources and the visualizations objects. So that can customize this with all CODESYS standard views. So you can switch a view on or off, or you can add another view which you want to have here in this device tree, and so it's fully flexible. You can switch it between a standard view and the HMI view, so that's something what I want to show you later on in the live demonstration. Also in the live demonstration I will show you the new HMI project wizard. So when you want to start an HMI project, there is a 5-step wizard which will guide you to the right starting with respect to add the project to the CODESYS Development System, and that you don't have to start from scratch here and to make any tiny configuration which can be automated here. The same thing is when you work then with the data sources of the HMI SL. So also here we have added a wizard to the CODESYS Development System so that you can select the variables from the PLC which will be used in the HMI SL project. And last but not least, there's also a licensing issue with the HMI SL. The SL is the single licensing. So we use here the standard functions of the CODESYS Development System to edit the licenses of the HMI SL device. So that's also something I want to show you in the live demonstration. So that's the final slide here before we start the demonstration. So that's the starting point for the CODESYS projects. So I switch here to my desktop. What I've prepared here is on the left-hand side a virtual machine. On the virtual machine there's the CODESYS HMI already running. So what I've downloaded from the CODESYS store is the HMI setup to install the CODESYS HMI SL on Windows-based systems. So I executed this HMI setup, and then the CODESYS HMI is available. Then I have to start it, and when it's started, you see in the taskbar that the CODESYS HMI is running. On the other side, I have the soft SPS, which is here my representative of the PLC side. So I use here soft SPS CODESYS Control Win version 3, and with that I program the PLC side. What I prepared as well are two empty CODESYS projects so that we can start right from the beginning in the demonstration. And as I said, I want to show you first the PLC side. So that's a pretty simple project. Just open a new project, a standard project, which I call PLC3. So everything is done in the background here to set up this project, to create the device tree. So I have to select which CODESYS control I want to use and which IAC language I want to use for programming. So I use the structured text in this example. And so the final setup is done here. So I go to the structured text side, and then I add here my variables. So it's a pretty simple program which I have in mind. So you have a lamp, so a light, which shall switch on and off. And this lamp is switched by a switch. Well, that's more or less my program. The lamp is in Boolean, and the switch itself is also Boolean. And so that's my application. As I said, pretty simple, but it's enough to demonstrate how the connection between the HMI and the PLC is done. So that I can realize a connection, I have to add the symbol configuration. The symbol configuration is then responsible for the connection between the PLC and the HMI. So when I've added the symbol configuration, it's mandatory that I start here a build process so that I can see what kind of information are available on the PLC and which one I want to publish. So in this demonstration here, we have constants, IO configurations, and the variables from the PLC program. So that's what I want to publish. And finally, that's all what has to be done in the PLC. Of course, in bigger projects, it's more effort to define variables that should be transported to the HMI, but in general, it's always the same. Make a symbolic configuration and just select which variables shall be shared. So then, before I log in, I have to look up my device. So you see in our network we have a lot of devices. So that's my one. I've started on my PC. So I make a connection. I load the application to the PLC, including the symbol configuration. Everything is up and running, no error messages. And then you see it's in the online mode. So I just make a short test. Prepared value. So when I switch the switch, the lamp lights, or it's on off. So that's all I want on this part on the PLC side. Let's go to the HMI side. Same thing. I have an empty CODESYS project. I will add a new project, but now an HMI project. I call it HMI3. And also here, the wizard does all the configuration in the background, and it pops up when it needs some information to finalize the configuration. So first information is that I want to do an HMI based on 3.5.10.0. By the way, this is the first version where the new store-based HMI SL is working, so with the data source manager. Then I have to select the HMI, so that's my virtual machine, virtual box, which I want to use. I can add which kind of applications I want to add to the HMI, whether I want to do alarm configuration, whether I want to have access to the image pool or visual manager, etc. pp. And also whether I want to extend the PLC logic by an HMI logic. That's everything what I can add, but what I don't want to demonstrate right now. And then, of course, I will show you the HMI perspective, which is a little bit different in the structure of the device tree with respect to the standard CODESYS view. And so when I finish this, CODESYS is working in the background to make all the settings, to make all the configuration. And finally, you see it on the left-hand side, it will show up a device tree, which is especially for HMI development, so that you have, beside of the programming, your visualizations, all the data sources, peer use, and some basic HMI features like the device, for example. So let's go to the settings here as well. First of all, that's what I usually do, is that I look up my HMI device, which I want to program, and it's again the virtual box I want to program. So this connection is established. You see it here on this green dot. And on a second, I want to add the data source. So where are the data for the HMI coming from? So that's also this wizard I added here. And then you see directly you can connect this HMI directly with version 2 or version 3 PLCs. What I want to use is the version 3 PLC. And now I have to identify the PLC which shall be accessed, or where I get my information from. And that's pretty simple. It's part of the device information. I see here the device address. So I normally use this one. It's 035A. And that's what I have to add here, 035A. That's all I have to do. When you have some user management already running on the PLC, you have to add here how the HMI can access data. So I have to use the username and password, which is configured on the PLC. So I have nothing configured, so I leave it empty. Press next, and directly with the next, the HMI project wizard had a handshake with the PLC. So the PLC now provides the information which kind of variables are available for the HMI. So that's from the application of the PLC side. It's in the program PLC PRG, and there are two variables available, lamp and switch. So I make it simple. I want to have everything from the PLC in my HMI available. And so the data source is now established. Here in the list, you see what's available as a data source. I make here the update always, so that with each cycle the variables are updated. Of course, when you have a lot of variables, that's a lot of workload on the network. So maybe it's better to not always update the variable, just to update it when it's changed or whatever. So you have to take care that the load is not too high for your application or for your machine network. You can modify the type mapping. You can change the communication settings. So when the PLC is a different one as it was before, so just change it here. And you have some general diagnosis with this independent update rate. So there it will be shown how the connection state is when I'm logged in. That's what I want to do now. So I want to log in into my HMI, so the virtual machine. And because I've done nothing, then an empty screen in my visualization, the virtual machine should be empty. But you see on the general diagnostic, so I already have a connection between the PLC and the HMI, but the data source is not running. That's because the HMI itself is not running. So when I run the HMI, so now data have been exchanged. So the data source manager is ready, the data sources are available, so I have access to the variables of the PLC. So as a result, that's what I said, we have a blank screen on the HMI device. But that's not enough for the moment. That's what I have to change. So I have to add a visualization here. A simple one, but a visualization, which represents the PLC. So on the PLC side, I have a lamp. I add a variable to the lamp, and that's done as usual in CODESYS with this communication tree. So as a data source object, I can use the data sources which are connected with the application of PLC PRG. And there I have a lamp and a switch. And for the lamp, I use a lamp. And for the next one, the dip switch, I want to use the switch. More or less, that's all what should be done for visualization. Now I log into the HMI SL. I could use the online change, but let me trust more in the login with the download, because it's not mandatory to make an online change. So the data are loaded to the HMI, it's loaded, and then the HMI starts when I press here to start, and you see I have loaded the application to the HMI, and it's now representing the same HMI here. So I can either use the IDE to control here this HMI, or I can use the HMI itself, and you see on the IDE it's reacting here, and that you see that I really have a connection to the PLC. I show you the PLC values as well. Well, that's the PLC value, and now I switch with the HMI, the PLC side. So when I have here switch, the lamp is on and off. So no logic on the HMI, just visualization interface, and the logic on the PLC with no visualization interface. So that's what you see here in the device tree. So it's totally independent, just connected by the symbol configuration. Let's come to more details in the device. So that's what I said before. There's a license mandatory, and the license can be set by the PLC settings. There's this button, Edit License. So that's now a connection to the device. That's also the reason why it is under the device. And here you can see what's available on the HMI SL. So we have a soft container there, and we have a dongle connected to this virtual machine. There's an USB dongle, and on this USB dongle we have several old licenses which are not mandatory for the HMI SL, but we have two licenses which are mandatory for the HMI SL. That's the HMI SL for the old version, which are based on the data sources. So that's a limited support here for old data source based projects, and that's the new HMI SL, so that's based on the data source manager, so that's the extension of the data sources. And with these two licenses you have now the possibility to work no time limited with the HMI SL. So what the license brings is the following. So you can see in the log file here, so with the basic license you can use 1,000 variables in the HMI SL. So 1,000 variables are really what you make available to the HMI, number of variables that are used in the HMI to realize the visualization. So each number is a variable. It can be an array, a 2 times 2 array, so there are 4 numbers in the 2 times 2 array, so there are 4 variables. Here in my case, I use already two variables, one for lamp and one for switch. So I have 989 variables open, which I can use with this HMI solution. So let's go back to the presentation, close to the end here. So let me summarize. With the CODESYS Visualization software for HMI visualizations, we have a solution which can run on industrial PCs which are running with Microsoft Windows. So you have there the possibility to have independent HMI projects which are based on PLC data. The project engineering is completely done in the CODESYS Development System. It's independent of the application creation of the PLC, if you want to have, and therefore we support either the engineering in one big project where you have the HMI and the PLC, everything in one project file, or you have it in distributed projects where one engineer is doing the logic for the PLC and the other engineer is doing the HMI for the visualization. The HMI itself supports all available CODESYS visualization functions of the version 3 CODESYS Development System. As you have seen, you can add some programs in the HMI, so that's the optional functionality, so you don't have just to display the variables from the different devices. You can also collect variables from different PLC devices, make a logic out of this information, and display final result based on several information from your machine. So it's a kind of dashboard functionality available where you shrink the amount of information to one key value which is then displayed. And by the new HMI perspective, we have a simplified engineering interface, especially for HMI developers. We can display the application data from CODESYS version 2 and CODESYS version 3 controllers on one single display. So to manage these kind of connections, we have integrated an online monitoring of the connection status with programmatic access. So when the connection is not stable or it's not available at the moment, you can react with a program here. So that's what I forgot to show you. Let me show it here in the program. So here's the intelligence. So with this green marks, we show that the data source manager is up and running and that the data are exchanged successfully. You can, of course, test the CODESYS HMI SL by a simple download in the CODESYS store. So when you just download the package without a license, it's running in a demo modus. The demo modus is just time limited, so it's a full functional version of the CODESYS HMI SL. It's running for 2 hours as a runtime, and the data exchange is running 30 minutes before it's separated. You can then order just a new license key for the upgrade from the demo version to the full version without reinstalling the software on the HMI device, without writing a new HMI project. So it's just adding the license and the project is fully available on the HMI side. When do you decide after the demonstration to get a license? So that's what I already said. The license is available in the CODESYS store. The license policy here is based on a number of applied HMI variables. The basic license for the HMI device includes already 1,000 data server variables. So when you need more variables in your HMI project, you can increment either in a step of 1,000 or in a step of 10,000 variables. And if you even need more than 10,000 variables, we also have license which provides you unlimited number of variables. So then you're completely free on how many variables shall be used in your project. So that's everything what I can offer here on the short demonstration of CODESYS HMI SL. Thank you for your interest and have a great nice day. Bye-bye.